You have a bit of Turkish accent as well.
Yes. You know what's funny? Me and Patrick were speaking earlier this week, and I sent him a screenshot of my steps at a typical working week that I do. So I wear an Apple Watch, and Apple obviously tracks the daily steps that I do. And I think in a typical working week, I do probably between 4 and 5,000. I don't obviously wear it when I do. Part of my exercise routine includes martial arts, so I don't wear it when I do things like that. So I'm sure it's not exact, but anyway, let's say between 4 and 5,000.
A day.
Yeah, on average per day. And then whilst I was in Turkey on holiday with a 2.5 and 1.5 year old, my average step count, I think it was around about 13,000 steps per day.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest of the hotel were just sitting there on their sunbeds enjoying their cocktails. There was me just running around making sure neither of them died in the swimming pool
So what you're
something.
saying is that that holiday was for your partner.
Exactly. I tell her that there's only one person that gets a holiday here, and that's you.
Well,
So
she's taking care of them a lot now.
exactly. Well, she does it 24/7 pretty much all week. So yeah, it's a fair swap for a week or so. Yeah.
5,000 a day. I thought you would do more steps, Owen.
What, in a day?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean,
How many are you doing, Martin?
I try to stay at 10,000, and I feel like I could do more
And you're tracking it, not just guessing.
through this. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I'm counting.
Patrick, how about you?
So this is funny. So for me, my step count actually goes the exact opposite way to yours, Owen. So when I travel, my step count plummets to about 5,000 a day. But actually, when I am here, back, working from my office and at home, etc., I actually make about 16,000 a day. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
So I just saw Martin has I think that's a Samsung product. Owen has the Apple product. I use the Google product. So we now have 3 all brands here. Please, affiliate marketing. Let's do the product placement now. But
I've got Garmin.
You got Garmin. Okay, got it. Well, then we need someone with Samsung now, clearly, and we have mentioned all 4 brands. But jokes aside, what I have this weird quirky habit, and it drives people crazy. It's almost like people that bite fingernails. When I have a classic phone call, I cannot sit still. It's impossible. I cannot control it. And so that means that I tend to walk around really for 3 or 4 hours a day easily. And sometimes I take the walks outside. I have a nice lake in front of my house. I'm walking around there. So actually, for me, it's healthier to be at home.
Wow.
Very good.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I thought you might have said that you have one of those treadmills you do where people putting them under their desks and then walking.
Also a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Not tried
Apart
it.
from steps, I've noticed that this helps me great with the sleep. Previously, I couldn't, how could I track my sleep? That's with
You're tracking your sleep?
Yeah,
on
with
there?
the watch. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
But you know you can get this thing like they call it health tracker anxiety or something, where you get like way too obsessed with the data, and so you could have something on your watch that says you had a really bad sleep, but you feel good, but because you know the data says it was bad, then suddenly you feel bad.
That's sounds like low self-esteem that someone tells you, oh, you slept bad, and you start
Well,
believing
yeah.
it.
It's like, say someone says you look crap, but you instantly look in the mirror, right? Like, do I?
no.
But just talk to ChatGPT. You will feel good afterwards.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's an amazing question, Owen.
You're saying on a gold mine. Okay, shall we go into construction and AEC?
Yes, sir.
And I won't be talking about my renovation project that's currently ongoing in this episode. Although people will probably
You are the true example of why this industry of small, medium projects is impossible to automate.
Well, I mean, you start taking apart a house that's 100 years old. What do you expect? Like 6-inch crack in one of the back walls.
Indecisive customer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I'm the one that normally is advising the customers, but advising yourself seems to be a major issue in life. That's why we love consultants.
Yes.
Okay, we love them.
Okay.
Today we're going to talk about NEOM. So it appears that the dream in NEOM could be over. I don't know if that'll be a major shock to some people, but Yes, here we are. There's some news article published about this topic. We'll also be talking about there's been a very, 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 very big acquisition in the robotics space, which perhaps is a signal for how bullish investors are on robotics. I think we have one sitting in the room here. And then there have been some interesting articles about, well, interesting, but I suppose the AI circus continues, and we have a few quick fire topics which we'll cover on in there, which I suppose make good entertainment. Then we have Calvin from CrewScope, and I found this quite interesting. They raised a $1 million pre-seed round for as a workforce crew management software, but they use gamification and incentives to help get the job done, which I don't know, maybe it exists in this industry, but I haven't seen anything that's like as intentional in their messaging about it and in such a way. So very interested to find out more about that. I'm sure others do exist. And then we have NK from Track 3D. They just raised a 10 million Series A. And I have to say, when I was in Nashville maybe a month or so ago now, there was a lot of talk about this Track 3D, and people were very excited about the product that they're creating. And
Nice.
they basically interpret the reality capture data that is captured on site and then turn that into actionable insights. So we will hear from him. But before we go there, what are your two thoughts on the project in Neon? Martin, you go first.
What was it? 250 kilometers or 170 kilometers initially as
That
a
was the
plan?
line,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
similar kind of vibe here, I suppose.
Yeah, so they canceled the line completely.
Yes. So, what are my thoughts? I've heard maybe a year ago that the prices of hotels, accommodation, and all the amenities that they calculated at the time of calculation was at least 50% under over enthusiastic. Yeah, at around a year ago.
So
So
they under budgeted.
over enthusiastic. So they were so for the project to work around a year ago. That's the gossip. The nights of the hotel stay, etc., would have to be like $700-800 a night on average for for it to work. Yeah, so it was super optimistic. Whereas this pricing wasn't possible in real life. So I think it's just a vision, and they try to kind of keep it going, but there was a lack of real hard, perhaps, calculations and budgeting of all of that. And I think also that this region has a battle, not physical battle in any way, but Dubai versus Saudi Arabia and Emirates are kind of fighting for new people to come to the region and businesses as well. So Dubai has done it very well several years ago. The last 20 years has been growing great. And probably Saudi Arabia wanted to do something similar, but it didn't work out, or seems like it might not work out.
I mean, what is I mean, so first of all, we should say perhaps or add. So this is what Swiss public newspaper Blick reported earlier this week, that Saudi Arabia, under the, let's say, guidance, stewardship of its sovereign state fund PIF, has decided to stop parts of the works around NEOM, the line, and the overall mega project and mega ambition, and reduce the scope of others. And so that includes the line, Magna, which is this tourist resort that Martin is referencing, and then NEOM as a let's say overall umbrella term. So yeah, that is certainly not a good news for startups in the region, because we are seeing startups in Saudi Arabia in general attacking an interesting market for a lot of people, but it was always a lump risk when you look at, you know, a subset of those startups, in that oftentimes either Neom directly or contractors, subcontractors tied to those projects were pretty much the only source of revenue. And these revenues oftentimes came with very, very high ACVs. So average contract values, where you're looking at it from perhaps other markets and you're like, I don't know if customers in the other markets would necessarily pay for perhaps that solution, that price. So you had a lump risk, you had a little bit of inflated contract values. And now that the scope is getting reduced, you are kind of kicking these startups a little bit, you're sweeping the rug under them a little bit. So that's something I'm not too happy about. That being said, I'm unfortunately also not surprised. Yeah, this is, I mean, in total, it is being reported that 40 billion are where the projects are behind. So they've basically burned 40 billion against the expectation of what they should have delivered by now. And get this, it is being reported, this is not a typo, that 21,000 workers died during the construction of the project so far. That's more than for Panama Canal 100 years ago. Okay, so there are reasons to also, it's always good to be optimistic. That is my natural stance. And I like to be positive about many things, but I also don't like to hype things before they deserve credit. And so here, we also have to say, it seems that the substance perhaps it's getting reduced to the substance right now.
Yeah, but I also think that in 2000, around 2008, during the great financial crisis in Dubai, Burj Khalifa was also halted, and there was this loan from Abu Dhabi of several billion dollars to push it back on track. I think for the region, it's not something that is something that they cannot tackle, I think. And in time, it might probably resume. But for now, maybe there's just a kind of liquidity problem with to a certain level. They're thinking about scaling it back. And perhaps in the future, it will be back on track. Yeah. But what is 40 billion, Patrick, for, I think...
Among friends, right?
What's the Saudi Aramco, I think, has like, 100 billion of...
120 free cash flow.
Free cash flow.
You're fair to point that out,
yeah.
But hey, that doesn't help the families of the workers.
And also they promised, that's true, but also they promised, I think 500 or 600 billion to be sent to the US the next few years. So maybe that's why they are cutting back.
It comes at an interesting timing, though. I mean, Saudi Arabia and the EA Games deal that went also through and became public last week. I mean,
maybe.
Does it mean that someone doesn't believe in their ambitious pet project anymore and they are now shifting other pet projects? I hear behind the scenes from friends who are informed that Saudi Arabia is also looking more into AEC software topics currently. Maybe, who knows, right? So I find it an interesting timing that you're reducing your one ambition and you're starting other ambitions.
Yeah, I would agree with this pet project kind of vibe that, the focus is going somewhere else for a while, but I'm sure it will be back at some point.
Yeah, what's also important to note that as part of this project, there were, when I was doing some research on this project, I come across a few interesting articles which state that there is some satellite imagery released by Maxar, which shows that despite the cancelling of the Neom project and the line and whatever else is going on over there, they at least managed to complete the major palaces for the princes over there before pulling the plug on the rest of it.
Baby.
So yeah, I'm sure it's not the end of the world for them. Patrick, question: when you were speaking, I thought about this. But if you're looking at companies where they're as an investor, where their business is, let's say, propped up, for lack of a scientific term for the word, by a large government funded project, from an investor's perspective, I mean, maybe I'm being silly here, but it seems kind of like lesser risk than if it was not a government funded project, but then suddenly the government say we're pulling the rug from under the feet. Would you still view it as a major risk that they have like a large amount of revenue reliant on something that could in theory be curbed.
It needs context, and I can't give you my general answer to it, because let me give you the counter example where this is how you do business, is if you're defense tech, right? So if you have to sell into the defense and intelligence community in the United States, for example, in the UK, Germany, etc., literally you will be in your early years having very few, very large, very lucrative contracts on which the other side of which the government takes, right? So there are ways where it can actually work and where it's the norm to do it like that. Now, my problem with Neom was that it's an economy that hasn't yet reached the status of, okay, I can rely on the next 20 years. When it is extremely, let's say, dependent on, I want to say trendy, because that would be the wrong word, but on like
one project. This is one project, so it's not it's not even assembly line for a particular like weapons or anything like that. It's just one project.
And then there's one person that can actually say, I don't like it anymore. Let's move on. So if you make that your lump risk, that has a different quality to it. And so that's something that I think we would have struggled with always, with companies that had that kind of a revenue structure in Saudi Arabia. And I was very critical when I saw companies that actually were from the West and they couldn't make it perhaps as easily in their home market. And they said, hey, you see what's going on in Saudi Arabia. Let's see what we can do there rather than try it at home. You need a very compelling reason to go after such a project and then think that will eventually make you great. So to answer your question, Owen, for me, the critique is more about this specific instance rather than, I would never think that would be a good idea, because literally the counterexample is defense tech.
So this line was meant to be completed by 2030, right? So that's only 4.5 years, less than 4 years. So how can you build I don't know, probably you can I don't know, but how can you build a business which you can scale, which will only last for which will only have a demand for the next service, will have only demand for the next 4.5 years? Because what's the next line or next Neom?
You're asking the right question, I think.
Yeah. Very good. Or maybe you build a fantastic robotic solution which helps in the build, which can then be used for other mega projects.
Yeah, and I mean it is true, right? So to be fair, I think the idea of national ambition and allocating budget to create a program type demand so that businesses around it can get started and flourish, I'm fully on board with that, because that is something how you can actually literally kickstart economies and or the next phase of an economy. Now, of course, you then actually have to provide the stability, and that's what he's not doing. He's actually now pulling the rug on this. So had he had the stamina, the endurance to continue with this, perhaps it could flourish, and that's certainly the bet that many founders rightly took. Now it creates a self-sustaining ecosystem, the next stage of the economy and overall growth that is independent of the mega project. I mean, clusters develop like this, and so the Kickstarter idea of this, I kind of get that.
By the way, is it confirmed or is it just a journalistic speculation?
Do these two terms go along? So it's Blick who reported this.
The headline is work has been suspended.
Oh, don't talk to me about headlines.
Okay, and according to Ralph Lengler, he is he's 51 years old, based in Zurich. He runs a YouTube channel called
it's confirmed.
Called Giga Projects. He's visited Neom several times, and this is his interpretation of the developments. It looks as though Saudi Arabia has lost confidence in Neom and is now dismantling the entire organization.
I'm telling you that he is not coming back. saying this publicly.
Oh God. Yeah, he reports about the $44 billion depreciation, what we referenced earlier. several thousand employees laid off. Others moved to Riyadh, which, by the way, was reported by Semaphore before him. Yeah, and the financing apparently is problematic. So that's what he reports.
Yeah, and I think he also says that a number of the projects within NEOM have been reallocated to other departments or state institutions within Saudi Arabia. Like some examples, Trojena is being placed under the Ministry of Sports. Luxury Island Sindala is going to the state tourism developer Red Sea Global, and the planned industrial logistics city Oxagon will now be under the state oil company Aramco. So like dismantling is a good term here.
I'll just make a bet that it's going to come back sooner or later, but it will come back.
I'll take you on that bet. Let's define what comeback means.
Comeback means that the scope might change, but the vision of the line NEOM will maintain as like a grand mega project to which we all will be looking at. Yeah, it's not that it's completely scaling back to nothing or they're capitulating, but at some point they will come back.
I would need more objective criteria. When is how much online?
When is how much online? I don't know the answer to that. Like I told you, like with Dubai, like I've not been around at the time, but I've heard that, and it's publicly online that I think Abu Dhabi gave them like $9 billion loan, and the construction resumed. And now you go to downtown Dubai, there's no clue about like past struggles. Yeah, so. I think with the vision these people have over there, it will just keep growing. There's just little hiccup right now.
We should save this discussion. In a few weeks, 30th of October, we'll have Prakash, who is very tuned in with what's going on over in the UAE. So we will pick his brain on that. Shall we move on to this our headline? How... I like answering these questions. What do you think the value of the deal is for SoftBank to buy ABB's robotics unit? If you know the answer, then don't. My guess is that Martin doesn't know, but Patrick probably does.
I'm guessing 500 million.
500 million. Come on, for 500 million, SoftBank doesn't even make a transaction, Martin.
Okay.
Try again.
Okay, now I know.
I mean, you were close. It was 1/10 of the way there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 5 billion is.
Yeah, 5.4. Yeah, 5.4 billion. And so SoftBank have agreed to buy ABB's robotics unit for 5.4 billion.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, according to this, it's so people understand the context. It's a pivotal step in CEO of SoftBank, Masayoshi Son's ambitious push into what he calls physical AI, the fusion of artificial intelligence with real-world robotics applications. Patrick, I think you are more tuned into this landscape. So, what's your views?
Should I perhaps start with giving you guys a bit of a lay of the land of the robotics value chain and how ABB and this deal slots in? Would that be useful?
Yes.
Yeah, because admittedly, before we hit this, I hadn't heard too much about ABB. So okay, educate me.
And how much they raised, if you know?
So ABB Robotics is an established company. So they are not in the vanity game of announcing fundraisers. They actually make money, not burn money.
Oh, great!
It's a good business. Yeah, but. Okay, now someone is calling me. Toll. Okay, robotics, guys. So think about the value chain in an upstream, midstream, and downstream way. And I'll start downstream. So downstream is where your and my favorite, let's say, robotics companies might sit: the vacuum cleaning robots, the pool cleaning robots, the lawn mowing robots, all of these things that we know from a productized sense. And downstream, what you also have, which is very hidden, is all the automation systems and the implemented robotic solutions in factories. So that sits downstream, right? So this is basically end customer implemented. Midstream is where you have different players that craft robotics solutions. So they basically take components and they craft a solution for these end customer that can be productized at serial units, like your favorite lawn mowing robot, or it can be custom implementations for the factories, right? So that sits midstream. ABB sits upstream. And so it's a very separated value chain in these steps. ABB is in the upstream part, basically, I'll dumb it down, basically producing arms. So arms are typically having, like a lot of them would have 6 axes of freedom. Sometimes you have less than that, 3, for example, etc. You load on top of it certain software layer in order to steer, actuate, and create effects with the robot arm. And then in the midstream part, it would be the solution crafters, the engineers that actually purchase these arms or cobots, other types of components from these upstream OEMs. That's where ABB sits. And ABB is one of the 5, what I call majors. Yeah, so there's ABB, 5. There's ABB, there's Fanuc, Japanese, there's Yaskawa, Japanese, there's KUKA, German, owned by Chinese, and there's Universal Robotics, which is Danish, owned by an American owner. So these are the 5 majors that basically produce arms, and cobots and another range of things, but they do not get into the business of crafting solutions. So they don't do the midstream part. They don't serialize robots. What they want to be is the hardware solutions provider to provide the world with the ability to actually integrate and craft solutions, right? And so whenever you guys see in an automotive factory these huge arms that carry, for example, the chassis of a car, very likely that it's one of these 5 majors who produce those arms. Now, that's the Western majors. In China, there's a whole other stream of majors that produce arms like that. And overall, that means that in this upstream part of producing arms, etc., you have worldwide several dozen. But the 5 majors, among that was ABB. ABB, with its robotics arm, with its robotics division, made about 2.3 billion euros, so about 2.6 US revenue, about 300 million per year EBIT after depreciation. And so SoftBank bought it for 5.4, so that's about, what's that? About 18 times EBIT. Fair enough. It's an okay valuation, I would say. The growth rate for the robotics division in ABB's case perhaps was pretty good. It has a strong market position, but not the best among the 5 majors. And it has a relatively small share of the ABB group revenue. So the robotics business is only about 7%. So my interpretation of this deal is it actually signals capitulation of one of the 5 Western majors against Chinese upstream robotics providers. That's the thesis with which I'm running on this one.
Explain why.
So when you go into China, it's just a completely different scale what's happening in the robotics game, and they literally sell the exact same type of arms at a third to a sixth of the cost, so 66 to 85% of a discount domestically. And they sell the same arms and they ship it to the West at a markup of 2 to 3x, with which they are typically still 50% cheaper than when ABB sells in the West. It's the same thing, and they mass produce it. It's good quality, etc. So you're going to see how some of these Western majors, Universal Robots and ABB would be among the first to feel it, will actually get into an amazing is the wrong, intense price war and margin compression versus more and more distribution from the Chinese arm manufacturers. The upstream arm game, as much as it's powerful, it's also unfortunately not very differentiated.
That's interesting. So from the other side, from SoftBank Group point of view, why would they buy it?
Physical AI, man. Physical AI is the new term that we now need in order to describe robotics.
Yeah. I'm looking for the 100 million ARR in one day articles to come out from physical AI in the next few months.
I think it's a good bet, quite honestly. I think he got a good deal, and robotics is an area in which we here at Fundamental are investing a lot. Not just money, also our time, strategies, etc. I think it's a good bet, and he got a good deal. I think ABB got out at a time when they felt like it's not core, and maybe it's going to compress for them a little bit more, and they didn't want to reinvest in it. Masayoshi Son probably wants to reinvest in it with SoftBank. I don't know what kind of, let's say, strategy he follows with it, but owning one of the top and most distributed ARM manufacturers is an asset.
Yeah, I think based on what you say, it sounds like quite a mutually win-win beneficial deal for both parties, actually. So,
what if
yeah,
I
good
ask you
luck.
this? Why there is no a major that would produce arms or robotic devices in construction? There's so many of applications, right?
Absolutely, and there also is in all the other industries. And you touch upon a very important point there, Martin. When you want to actually craft solutions, you always need to get your hands dirty and actually make them for very specific cases. And that's something that is a different business from producing 10,000 arms a year.
Sure.
By the way, I don't think ABB does 10,000 arms a year. That's probably less than that, but it's still a serialized, productized type of a mindset. So it's a completely different business. It's closer to, it's sort of, it's a crude metaphor, but it does actually describe it. So the upstream part of robotics, the majors, they are like your SaaS companies, like or let's say software companies. They build a product, they mass produce it. The midstream part of robotics is more like your consulting firms. So upstream is Salesforce, and the Salesforce integration consultant is midstream. Salesforce doesn't want the midstream part because it's a completely different game.
Yes. So we're still looking for perhaps one of the future majors to emerge in construction. Do you think there will be one? Do you think there will be one, or
a major specific to construction, or a midstream downstream player?
So I was speaking with Salar maybe a year ago, and when we were doing Super Series with him, he said he's starting from bricklaying, but then it's later on having a data and all of the infrastructure of AI, and with this physical world, they will be going into other areas within construction, right?
Yeah.
So that would, in my head, someone like him would then build a factory, perhaps, that builds robots for
Yes, I agree with
that.
But Martin, that is midstream. So that is actually solution engineering. That's so monumental that you're speaking about. We're proud to be a partner there and great company, blah, blah, blah. But so that's a solution OEM. What Salar, I have to ask him again whether his mind changed, but I'm pretty sure Salar wouldn't want to get into the production of the arms to sell it, because the arm itself is a generic device. The crafting the arm and developing software how to effectuate the arm in the context of construction, that's the midstream business. And that's where all of the applications around the world need a level of specific design that as an arm manufacturer, you don't want to do it. So you're completely right, but it's not what you want to do in order to win a ton of construction business. What you there want to do is to craft the solutions.
Okay.
Very good. Shall we? We have 5 minutes before Calvin comes in. Shall we do some quick fire, funny AI articles from the week?
Yeah.
It does.
Okay, so here are the ones I've got. So apparently, OpenAI just killed N8N, Zapier, and 1,000 other AI startups.
Wow.
Not 999, not 1,001. With a one single announcement. So congratulations to OpenAI. Looking forward to seeing the death of N8N, Zapier, and 1,000 AI startups.
I actually think that's true. I actually think that's obviously exaggerated, but I think the center of the gravity is going that way.
I agree with that. I agree.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not 1,000, maybe it'll be 1 this week, but that's where we're going. And I can see it just running small engineering consultancy. Like, what can I do right now out of my computer? It's just insane. And how quickly.
I think it's it's a kind of projection of what's to come, I think, and continue to come. Another amazing, what do we call these deals now, where someone buys chips from another company, but only on the basis that that other company invests in that company's chips and they reinvest back into
Ponzi.
I found a funny GIF, which maybe I should post. I haven't got it in front of me, which describes the situation right now. So, yeah, NVIDIA have signed what has been labeled a blockbuster AI supply deal with XAI. And here, let me just read the paragraph here and see if you can you can process this. So Elon Musk's XAI is preparing to raise roughly $20 billion for a combination of equity and debt, with NVIDIA playing a central role in the funding structure and chip supply. According to Bloomberg, the funds are being split between 7 to 8 billion in new equity and as much as 12 billion in debt, routed through a special purpose vehicle that will purchase NVIDIA GPUs and lease them out to XAI. NVIDIA itself is believed to be investing up to 2 billion into the equity portion, according to Bloomberg sources.
That's too
The
complicated.
arrangement effectively finances purchases of NVIDIA's own hardware, whilst ensuring XAI gets priority access to GPUs.
That's too complicated for my very simple mind.
It's an incredibly smart deal. I can only congratulate NVIDIA. I think it's an incredibly smart deal. So let's transfer it into a different domain, because there's a lot of financial speak here that's going on. So imagine you were Deutsche Telekom or Verizon, a big telco operator, and you would somehow convince other financial partners, equity and debt, to give you 80% money. They ask you to put actually 90% of the money. They ask you to put 10% of the money, the 2 billion. You pull that money together and you convince them to buy the telco towers from you and rent them back to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's another way to, it's not exactly the same thing, but that's another way to express it, where basically you are leveraging other people's money in order to sell variable cost. And that's the leasing here, right? So it's a very, very smart and elegant deal.
Property is exactly the similar way. People leverage a bank's money or investors' money. They buy something. They give 10% collateral of their own whatever, and then
and now if you now supplied the furniture to go into all these buildings, then you have GPUs. And that consortium leases the furniture from you.
Great, because that's a source of demand for them as well, yeah?
Exactly. So for them, it's what I just said is not exactly what they are doing. They're doing it slightly the other way around. But another way to express it is, imagine NVIDIA were to start an internal bank that leases their GPUs to XAI. Maybe they have that. I actually don't know. But let's say that's what they were doing. It would be the same thing, except that here they get 90% of the capital for that from other people.
So I call the Ponzi something which is smart.
I think this one is smart. Now, it would be a Ponzi if they put that money directly into XAI, and from that money they would purchase. So that would be closer, I think.
Okay, Calvin is going to be here, and he said we have a question from Piotr, which we will come to at the end after we have a couple of call-ins right now. And perhaps we will also come to the other AI articles, one to do with Deloitte having to partially refund the Australian government as it got some citation, as the AI was using for his report for the government made up some citations. And then in addition, Deloitte also decided to deploy Claude AI Assistant to 470,000 workers worldwide. So think of that what you will. Google announces enterprise AI, which is pretty cool. Bank of England has warned AI valuations risk a dot-com style crash. Cool. And Oracle's thin AI margins have sparked a tech sell-off. Perhaps we will get to them a little bit later, but for now we have Calvin. So
how can Bank of England saying that there's they have no clue?
I mean, they gotta look smart, right? Hey, Calvin.
Hey, Calvin.
Hey, Calvin.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you? Thanks for coming. We're live, by the way.
Well, thanks. Oh, fabulous to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good. Okay, we have like roughly 15 minutes. So we'll ask you about Cruise Scope in a minute, but you had just raised $1 million pre-seed round.
Yes,
So
we did.
congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you.
And
Congratulations.
we found it very interesting because when reading through some of the literature in your company, you make a few or you're intentional in your language around the idea of gamification and incentives for getting the job done. So yeah, talk to us a little bit about Cruisco and the fundraise and what you guys are building.
Yeah. So we're focusing on the people doing the work. This is a people business here in construction, and there's tons of capital and risk in the schedule. And when you actually look at building a project, your land is fixed, your equipment is fixed, more or less. Your material price is mostly fixed. Even your labor cost, more or less, especially if you're taking it off the union, is fixed. So the only variable is time to execute. And we've taken the view that construction is a people business. There is plenty of room for automation and for robots, but we're not going to replace the people doing the work. So we've taken the focus really there at the people holding hammers, the trades, the skilled work men and women in the field. And there's a huge opportunity to connect with them and to empower them to be more productive. And from all of our projects, it works. So we're excited about it.
How do you do that then on a practical level?
I'm very curious actually, because the way I see it is I want to build something and I contract this bricklayers and I say that I want them to build this amount of bricks or this floor and within this time, and then they say of course yes, because they want to get the job, and then things happen and there are delays. So at what point do you guys come in, and how does it interact with this situation?
Mm-hmm. So let's start at the ground level, right? Let's just start at the actual execution. So our clients have sophisticated schedules. They're using great tools, and there's a number of them, project management tools. But getting those plans to the people in the field, typically today they're meeting once a week. The good jobs are meeting once a week at a trailer, and you have your construction manager with their schedule, and they're bringing in their third-party site leaders, their foremen, and they're talking face to face. And that's today the mechanism to transmit the schedule into the field. So very, very verbal and slow. And some people honestly are just better at doing it than others. And so the first piece of our solution is to just take the schedule that exists in these very good, sophisticated tools. We extract it and we simplify it for the people doing the work into these weekly work plans. And that's the first piece, is just sharing it with them, getting them to participate in making this work plan, with the goal being at the end of that meeting to have a very accountable weekly plan that's well understood by everyone. So that's the first piece that we do.
Yeah, I think this is great, by the way. Just sorry to interrupt, but having recently done some interviews with people building solutions within the scheduling space specifically, the number one, or I don't know if it's number one, but the key thing I remember and a key pain point within this area is that the people producing the schedules and the people executing the work are two totally separate people. So how can the people creating the schedule be the people doing the work?
Yeah, it's actually a good point.
It's not a new idea, right? I mean, we're not talking about doing anything different. It's just there's so much information, and what we do is we simplify that into a text message, really into the foreman. We send that text message to them 48 hours before that meeting, and oftentimes that's enough for them to come with a very good plan, as opposed to what we see today, which is the foremen show up and they're hearing about the schedule for the first time for the week and all the changes, and it's just very information dense. And I mean, these are professionals. These are they're working through that, but giving them some heads up goes a long way.
Yeah. And what is the gamification? Is that part of it, or how does that element come into play?
It's the carrot, right? We're trying to lead with carrots here. I mean, construction, it's like lots of sticks, right? And if you spent any time here, then you often only hear about the problems and when you're doing something wrong. And we see a huge boost in just morale and productivity when we recognize good performance with some carrots. So we have points, we have reward points. So when these work plans are achieved every week, the crew, including the hourly workers on site, will earn reward points. These reward points are non-financial or financial. We have both for the, just leaderboards, competition. These are reward points that are, people like to win, people like to compete, but also some of our clients put some financial rewards behind it because there's such value to be created from accelerating the schedule. And there's such opportunity for the people doing the work to actually go and execute and bring up that schedule by days. And for some of these clients, a day could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. And, so, it is controversial, these people pay well to do their jobs, so why are we paying them extra? But
exactly, yes.
Look, variable performance pay works, but it's not for everyone. So we tailor it to our clients.
Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second. Do you have like a global leaderboard so we can find out who like the best drywaller or carpenter is?
Yeah, we're building up expertise in different markets where certainly we can identify some of the best trades doing that work. Absolutely.
That's fun. Yeah, that's fun. I like that.
What size of projects do you cater for?
We're focused on large infrastructure projects. I mean, we're doing multifamily, high-rise residential. We're doing the Toronto Western Hospital here with Ellis Don. So that's a 15-story expansion of the hospital. So we really want to focus on the critical path of these large projects, large scopes of work, because we're aiming to save days off of that critical path schedule.
Yeah, asking us, like I said earlier, my experience is that there is a amount of money that I'm willing to pay, and there is a amount of work that needs to be done within this time, and usually this is at the edge of feasibility of the task. That's how these schedules are, I feel like, calculated. So then, how can we speed it up even more for the teams to bring this to life earlier than it is? Just difficult for me to figure it out in my head.
But I think mine is more from the internal perspective of the people delivering the project rather than the people paying for the project.
Maybe my experience is also on small, medium-sized projects. So maybe large ones have different dynamics and different way of scheduling it. Yeah.
Look, there's no question. If we start with a bad schedule, we're not, we can't make up a hospital expansion, right? They actually have to go and pour the concrete and place the rebar. So if the schedule is unreasonable, then that is ideally something we identify very early. So part of this process is collaborative to get the trades to participate in building this plan so they feel like they own it. And if their plan doesn't match the expectation, well, either the team's not good enough or the schedule's wrong. And by writing it down, right, by having that solid plan that we agree on, then we can actually look into that and have that hard conversation. But typically what we see is that schedules are padded, quite padded, because it's so hard to plan. And so they handle this, uncertainty by just padding the schedule. So what we see is on these large projects, when there's more labor, there tends to be a lot more risk. And as a result, there's more days padded into the schedule. And so by actually engaging the people doing the work and getting them to share with us what they think is a good target, and then dangle some carrots there to recognize that performance, we can actually squeeze some time out of it.
Patrick, do you have a question, or if not, a couple more?
I'm just curious how the workers react to it. Have you identified certain personas who love it and certain personas who hate it?
So everyone loves it except the poor performers.
Yeah.
So what reactions do you get from them?
Well, generally, we when we onboard a crew, we like to do it in person because the the presentation of this program matters a lot, and the first impression matters a lot. So we're very much there to share more information with the workers. We want them to be more involved, and to do that, we're there to share with them targets, progress, and recognition. And we know, like from our lived experience, that this is a real frustration, like especially today, especially on job sites today. Younger workers really expect to have a clear understanding of what's expected of them. They expect a lot of progress and performance feedback, and they expect recognition. And this is something that's just missing on a lot of these job sites. And so when we're there talking about this, they're like, yeah, finally, we're happy for that. So generally they're enthusiastic, but there's always one or two that realize, hey, you're gonna actually hold me to some expectation now, and I actually got to show up, and I've got to work, and if I'm not pulling my weight, then I maybe don't have a spot on this team. And so yeah, it does bring out a little bit of friction there. It certainly shines a spotlight on the poorer performers, and the site leader now has to address that. But they should be doing this anyways. But yeah, I take the point that we are trying to drive some some performance expectations on site.
I mean, it gets closer to an athletic team, to a sports team, right? I mean, in the end, the high performers on a sports team, they have typically an incentive in the locker room to call out the ones that, perhaps aren't pulling their weight. And so in business, oftentimes, you can't operate like a sports team because it's actually very hidden or it's not objective, whatever, how everybody is performing. So you're giving them that tool.
Plus, I would also say that resistance to technology on a construction site is regardless of technology, is always there for ridiculous reasons. I think someone put up a LinkedIn post recently about some of the excuses that they were hearing from people on sites for not using construction. I heard one that this was from an innovation leader, that their site teams did not want to use a specific tool because they didn't want that technology vendor to succeed. Wow. So it sounds ridiculous, but the excuses were like, well, what happens if they do well, and like all of these discussions. So I think you're going to face resistance in anything you're trying to do, which is a little bit like pushing the possibilities. Calvin, I wanted to ask about how the so you were you working with Ellis Don, and then they decided to invest, and like what was the journey up to the investment with Ellis Don? Maybe a little bit about like how you incepted this product. Are you from the industry? That kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. So Ellis Don, actually, they're not an investor. We're a strategic partner. So we started with their self-perform teams doing First Nations housing in Western Alberta. We were partners with them. One of our first pilots with them was on the Capital Line project in Edmonton, and we showed some outstanding results. This was again with their self-perform team, just simple planning, communication. We were able to show them 10% labor savings, which was transformative. And from there, it just really bubbled up, and we had an opportunity to meet their digital team, the CIO, overseeing this team. And Ellis Don is an incredible partner because they don't just see the technology as it is; they see the opportunity to use this technology and to shape it and to shape the future of the industry. And for them, what really caught their eye was how we were connecting directly with workers, and our platform was flexible to include third-party workers, not just self-perform. And so this is how we got the opportunity at the Toronto Western Hospital with their 5 critical path trades. So very much a leader in Ellis Don, the general super there on that project, who shaped the technology, right? It wasn't initially intended for this, but saw the opportunity to improve collaboration across third parties, and have everyone on that slab know when we're pouring concrete. And so that's underway now, and it's been quite a fruitful partnership where we're building with them, and we're very close to the project, and that's been outstanding. Your first question, yeah, I came from the industry. I spent 10 years at Lafarge across the business, so spent time in ready mix, cement, asphalt paving construction. I spent time in operations. I spent time in logistics. And so really that friction point between, where materials are produced and how they end up in the ground. So I lived through all of that verbal friction that we're talking about, and just the opportunities for site teams to be just a lot more focused and plugged in on delivery and targets. So that's where it started from.
Wonderful. Glad to hear. Okay, Calvin, thank you so much. But
Yeah,
good luck
appreciate
with
it.
Cruise
Thank you very
Scope. We'll
much,
be
Calvin.
following the journey.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks. Have a great day.
Best
Take
of luck,
care.
man.
Bye-bye. Incentives.
Okay, yeah, I think it's fascinating actually. Behavioral change is such a big aspect of anything, but let's get NK in here. Hey NK,
Hey
Hello,
Owen,
NK.
Yes, sir.
how are you?
doing great, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Have you been enjoying the fallout from your recent Series A?
Yes, so back-to-back events, this is that time of the year. I'm in New York right now here for an expo as well. And being in construction sites, visiting our partners, learning every day. So it is fun.
Very good. Yeah, so you just closed your Series A, $10 million US, total funding 14.3 million
That is correct, Owen.
US.
That is
Good.
correct.
I'm glad my sources are accurate for a change. And yeah, tell us a little bit about Track 3D, like what you guys do. I think I've heard, and I mentioned this in the introduction, but there was a lot of discussion around you at at AU Autodesk University this year. And I'm very, very excited to hear about what you guys are doing. So tell us more.
Absolutely, Owen. Again, right? So at Track 3D, we automate construction monitoring. So what we predominantly do is, you have talked about this in your previous podcast also a lot on reality capture, drones, 360 cameras, laser scanners, all of that. Now, Track 3D is hardware agnostic. It can take in data from all these sources and it can automatically quantify and qualify progress. So what I mean by that is it can precisely tell you how much of work is done, what
Wow.
has been done, when has been done, and has it been done to the right specifications or not as well. So those are the three products that we offer: the visual track, the progress track, and the deviation track.
And the qualifying and quantifying happens automatically, or is it done manually?
That is happening automatically. That is the reason why we are able to scale on some major projects right now. And it happens with as simple source as a 360 camera to as complex as a laser scanner. So data doesn't matter.
Very smart. Patrick, do you want to go?
So, what's the plan with the 10 million?
Yeah.
Yes, so far it has only been me. I'm the sales team right now. So our US GTM team has been me, and been fortunate enough to work with some of the largest contractors and construction companies over here. Now the plan is to expand our GTM motion. So we are actively hiring and building up our GTM motion over here, so that we can pass on the benefits of Track 3D and create awareness to more and more companies.
Great. And
Wow.
by the way, I love founder-led sales. I think founder-led sales should never actually stop. So NK, love that you're doing that. And in my opinion, if you can keep doing it, at least sampling customers, retaining key accounts that love you, it gives you so much more primary information that you can use in the rest of your business to make better decisions. I think that's actually a role model to follow.
100% Patrick. I don't intend to move away from sales at all because this is how we are learning, right? So, and this learning should never stop.
So NK, I'm curious. Why would you're taking the data from tools which exist like OpenSpace, Drone Deploy, Disperse, the other players in the reality capture space. You're ingesting this and then you're giving people insights based on the imagery that has been captured on site, right?
That is correct, Owen. That is absolutely right.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
are they not like doing this themselves? Is it that they are doing it, but it's just not like as good as it could be, i.e., which is why you exist? Can you talk to that?
Absolutely.
And how do you know one of those will not come up with the same solution, which will do?
Or that was going to be my follow-up question. Yeah, why do you not just create the reality capture solution?
Perfect. No, great questions. And let me take it one by one. And I'll give it by an example, right? So these were questions right when we started back in 2022 as well. We were pitching to investors, and some of the investors actually advised us not to do this. This market is saturated. There are these players, open space, drone deploy, all this that you're talking about. And when I went into the ground reality and saw what is actually happening, right, that opened up our mind. So people were doing reality capture mainly as an insurance use case. Something goes wrong, we have data that we can look back on. So the amount of data capture was crazy amounts basically, but the data being used live on a day-to-day basis was very, very low. And that is where we felt the opportunity. Now, there were other AI-based solutions that were coming up and even there right now, right? Like BuildDots or Cupix as well. But what we saw was these only apply to a select set of projects. They were complicated to implement. You had to have the BIM model to a certain level of accuracy. You had to have the schedule, tie that up. So we believe that simplicity was missing so that we see mass adoption. So our metric was simple when we started, right? So our metric was let's go after the top 30 construction companies, the ENR top 30, right? And let's say that these guys should be ones who have enterprise agreements with our competing solutions. If we get them to switch to us and not only switch, scale with us actually. Like when I talk scale, like hundreds of projects, they should work with Track 3D and use it so that not only for the visual part but use it to drive progress and make active decisions on job site. That was our measure for success. So we didn't work with a lot of companies. In fact, we were very focused until almost mid of this year. There were only 10 companies that we worked with, but the 10 companies that we worked with scaled really well with us. They became like multi-million dollar, multi-project deals. Some of them doing 100 plus projects. So that was the proof point that we were looking for.
Would it be fair, and correct me, I really want you to just help me and help all of us to position Track 3D also towards the viewership correctly. How accurate or wrong would it be to say, hey, years ago there was Rafi with Avir or Felix with Disperse that tried something similar? Would you see yourself as sort of in the same vein as them back then?
Yes and no, Patrick. Yes, because the problem we are trying to solve is the same. No, because the way we are solving it is very, very different. Like our onboarding time is 15 minutes. You can get started on a project. It could be a small retail shop like a Total Wine, a Dick's Sporting Goods, or it could be a large airport data center hospital. Doesn't matter. You can get started with us in 15 minutes and you can start seeing value instantaneously. There's no learning curve, so there's no data preparation, no schedule tying, doing all those things. We fit into your natural workflow. 2D drawing is all that we required. As long as you're 2D drawing any single form of reality capture, we can instantaneously deliver value. And that has been the huge unlock for us.
And do you see that your customers have tinkered around with other solutions before they settle on Track 3D? Is that a common thing?
So till now, at least, every of our customer that we have tried has tried almost every other solution out there. Almost every other solution, because the problem is very real, right? They like that visibility. They like to know what exactly happened and answer the fundamental question: are we on track? So we are helping them answer that.
Good. You're meeting prepared minds, right? I mean, it's we say I think we all together have made similar experiences at some point. Being the first sometimes can be an advantage, and sometimes being maybe not the first can be a great advantage because you're meeting customers who have a prepared mind. So I think you're in a market where the customers have a prepared mind now.
Exactly, and to the point, right? We always blame the industry, saying that this is a technology laggard and all that, but I don't think so. It's on these guys. They have been trying solutions for so long.
Yeah.
I think it's on the technology providers like us ourselves, right? Our technology is not simple enough. It is not effective enough. So doesn't have the right balance of speed, cost, and accuracy. So if you were there, you would literally be on every project. So that is what we want to be at.
Can it work on a phone or not yet?
It can. It is working on the phone. The simplest project that we have done, now that you mention it, Martin, is a renovation of a single family home where you
Hmm.
just use your phone and started getting the data out.
Hmm. You
A
should.
moving camera is all we require. The moving camera can be anything.
Okay. Have you what do you say about the type of customers that you work with and you want to work with? Is it only construction companies, or are you thinking about owners perhaps, or like structural warranty companies, or like building control or municipal control companies that provide kind of supervision over construction or some sign-offs? Because that seems like a very simple way for them to track the correctness of solutions and not progress really, but
Yeah, verification
correctness.
of claims from the downstream as well. Yeah.
Yes, and all of those are very, very valid customer profiles to reach out to. Although we again, right, we were having very narrow focus so far. We started out with general contractors last year. In fact, we actively started selling the product last year itself. So it's general contractors, and through general contractors, then we started seeing trade partners on one side and owners on one side adopting it. Some of the
Mhm.
owners have even put us on the spec, like every new project use Track 3D by default. Now is the point when we are actively expanding our go-to-market motions, where we want to touch all the users that you talked about, right?
Mhm.
Insurance agencies, project management companies. There's so many of them that can benefit with the same product in different ways.
Hmm.
Honestly, we haven't even covered the complete gamut yet. So
Mhm.
excited about that, and there's a lot more to uncover.
So speaking of those smaller companies, which can be in the gigantic quantities, like what sort of pricing are you thinking? Like, what was the pricing of the software right now?
So pricing is very simple. We base it on the square footage. Like we say, it's unlimited scans, use any modalities, unlimited users as well. We don't
Mhm.
have any restrictions, and unlimited elements tracked. So we say if you can see it, we can track it. It has to be visually distinguishable for us to be able to track it. And the pricing is like, square footage, and the price per square footage comes down as you commit to more square footage actually.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
we started, like, just to give you an idea, 100,000 square footage package. If someone purchases from us, they get it at like $20,000, like 20 cents per square foot.
Mhm.
And then, as you scale, the price per square foot comes down, and sometimes quite drastically as well. So
Oh,
it's something that makes absolute sense.
that's fair.
Nice. Hey, NK, your team primarily, as I understand, is based in India, right?
What is that, Owen? I didn't catch
Your
that.
team or the product has been like developed mostly in India.
That is correct, Owen. So I come from India. In fact, I moved from India last year.
Very cool. How do you have any insights for people? Because I think this is, I don't know, I don't have any hard data to tell me that this is like a growing trend, but it's certainly coming up in more discussions that we're having of people building products in like Europe or India, or perhaps where it's slightly cheaper to build versus in the US. Um, what's your thoughts on that as a concept generally? And two, how do you effectively manage like an operation that spans like two halves of the world?
No, again, right? For us, it was not a function of being cheaper, but it was a function of, my roots were there. I've been working last 20 years back in India, and it's only been startups that I've been founding. And we are three co-founders. In fact, two of my other co-founders are back in India. So we all the it was natural for us to start in India. In fact, the core team that we have, right, are people who have joined us from 17 years back since our first startup. In fact, me and Vinny, two of us, have been at this startup journey since 2011, and all the three of us together have been doing this together for 8 years now. So it was very natural to do it over there, and obviously you get the arbitrage, right, of cost. But more importantly, it was our ecosystem, the people we knew, the team that we could actually develop out of, and all our tech team was actually ones that came from our previous startups. So people were kind enough to follow us and allow us to be a part of the team again. So that was a logical expansion, because you knew how to work with this team and build cutting edge technology products. Once
Mhm.
you have that, right, now it becomes about just finding the GTM engine going.
Mhm.
Very cool. Any more for NK?
I think it's pretty cool what you're doing, and I think it's a cool timing, NK too. So I really wish you best of luck, man. This is going to be a cool journey to follow.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Yes, Martin.
For me, I can see like so much of a potential use cases here in the UK where I am for like small, medium type of projects from building control, structural warranties point of view. Yeah, because if this can be, if this can run on a phone, that's so much.
Absolutely, Martin. That is our vision as well. Like, how do we become an operating system of every job site through this reality intelligence platform that we are building? So super excited on that. And the scale, the size of the project shouldn't matter, is what we believe. Also, the geography shouldn't matter where the project is being built. So super excited about the next steps, and hopefully we'll be in touch and keep continuing giving you updates on our journey.
Very much looking forward to it. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck. Cheers.
Take care, NK.
Thanks, NK. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
See, so this is kind of technology that I really like because it touches on the consumer almost, in my head at least. So instead of having a camera, a specialistic camera with the software and walking on site and then transferring it somewhere, and things will be happening, I don't know, in servers or in other country, you can have your phone out as a like site manager or building inspector. You run through it, you get a report, and that's for me business to consumer in construction, which I really like.
Something else that I appreciate about them too, Martin, is they have been grinding away. This opportunity didn't fall into their lap last year, and then physical AI, I should really do something here. No, they have been at this really for a while without ever thinking, we should do something else. I think they have mastered, their customer. They've understood what it is that they are building. They're grinding away, not quitting, nothing. I think that's something to hold in high regard. This is how you find success, man. It's always, people think success is easy. Success comes quick, and then we have these big fundraising announcements. I mean, right? And so most of the success gets built for years until it explodes. And so they have been very, very consistently building this company.
Very good point. Hey, Peter had a question.
Piotr.
I'm sorry, my British pronunciation is shocking. Curious, what are your thoughts on general purpose humanoid robots versus more specialized systems, especially in construction? Patrick, I'll direct this to you because I know you wrote something about this on
Piotr, you can
LinkedIn.
actually read my that I have the exact same question as you, and I do not have more answers than you, but I refer you back to my LinkedIn or fundamental.com. I literally compared the I laid out my thinking process about what could be scenarios in which one or the other should be favored. So I'm gonna sorry about that, Piotr, but I'm gonna refer you there. However, I can tell you I don't know the answer myself just yet. My gut hunch is that for a ton of the specialized robotics applications that we're seeing in this world, it remain integrations of arms, components, subsystems, rather than a full-blown humanoid. Humanoids in white-collar, pink-collar scenarios, so pink-collar being, for example, hospitality. I think that is going to be much, much, much quicker in the Western market than many people think. In industrial contexts, I'm a bit more cautious.
Well, I don't know, but I've heard that a year ago that, for example, a monumental case, the cost of what they were doing at that time, like in-house cost to assemble it, was around $25,000 or euros.
I do not want to confirm or deny that, but
that they said that's
he said it. It's
okay,
it's public. So and they said that humanoid at that time, the cost to do it, like properly, whatever, it's $1 million. So it just doesn't make sense. to
Yeah,
build
I mean, the cost of humanoids are drastically reducing, and you do get
That's
models
true.
right now for 6,000, not necessarily the model that you would want for a task like that. 30,000 is actually a fairly common price point for humanoids from China right now, and it is true, of course, if you need certain lifting requirements, etc., you can very quickly get into the hundreds of thousands still. So that is still a correct observation in principle, but the industrialization of that is drastically happening. So that's something to consider. Personally, I think if in the industrial use cases, we will first see material movement done by humanoids before we see other tasks.
So you said in humanoids first, yeah?
Sorry, what I'm saying is in industrial contexts, the first and most replicated use cases in which humanoids in industrial contexts are being used as material movement.
Yeah, because more. I actually don't know why, but maybe. I don't know.
It's
I
one of the
trust-
most standardized processes in most industrial contexts.
Very cool. Okay, to wrap this up, then I've got two more things. One being, I found this funny tweet earlier for the roadmap for artificial general intelligence. Do you want to know what it is? It's finally been revealed. So the roadmap, the AGI roadmap, is this: make people dumber so AI appears smarter.
It is smarter already. So
Speak for yourself, man. I mean,
Also-
IQ is also a flawed measure. So I'm just saying, how do we measure smartness? IQ is a flawed measure too.
How you dress,
but-
for sure.
Yeah, but it's sure lower the bar and you jump over it. Like, is that the metaphor that is being used here?
Yeah, exactly that. Yep. Yeah.
Or
Everyone's
if the game is limbo, raise the bar and dance under it.
And that's the way we're going. And to that point, I have some personal inspiration for everyone who listens to Bricks and Bytes. So,
Bricks, Bucks, and Bytes.
Bricks, Bucks, and Bytes. So
Not to the others. Okay.
in my past life, there's this exam that you undertake as a quantity surveyor called the assessment of professional competence, and you do this, and once you pass it, you're chartered, and then you are truly professional, and you are then obliged to pay your subscription fees to the RICS for the rest of your career if you want to have these 4 letters after your name, which is MRICS or FRICS. Anyway, I failed that exam 3 times. Yet, on Tuesday this week, I will be speaking at the RICS QS conference, doing a panel on artificial intelligence in QSing. My dad said maybe they want you to become an honorary member.
Yeah, or you will
So,
become
there
a
you
fellow
go.
fellow straight away.
Yeah, I forced my way in eventually. This
is
is what
pretty
Bricks
cool,
and
though.
Bytes was created for.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool, though. Congrats, man.
Yeah, there you go. So, thank you guys.
Not
Thank
everything
you.
is-
In fact,
Not
yeah,
everything is obvious.
that was fun. We will speak next week.